This lesson is about the right touch. We mentioned this in the last lesson. If a man touches a woman in labor and she just growls at him or flicks his hand off, he doesn't know when to touch her again. And honestly, we don't want to do this to each other as human beings. We need to communicate well. And we're adults, so we need to communicate in an adult manner. So the question is do women like to be touched in labor? And there's different ways of looking at it. A lot of people say no, women don't. A lot of people say women do. That's not the point. The point is the women in labor have to like the touch. It has to be the right time, the right place, and in the right way. And this is where Birthing Better Families just nitpick the crap out of everything. These skills, we didn't sit down as a group and figure them out. They were nitpicked. So some couple would come and say, I tried to touch her and she grizzled at me and she flicked my hand off and I didn't know how to touch her again, so I didn't touch her again. To which the woman is saying, once I did that, he never came near me again and it's really impacted our relationship for the negative. So you don't want to do that. So we had to find out what the right touch was. And in this lesson, you are going to learn about how to do that. It's not complicated, but you do have to take time to learn. Now, what is touch used for? Lots of different things. And usually when men are trying to touch women in labor, it's certainly not sexual, but it's to comfort a woman. Just think about it. So you're feeling in labor that she's in distress, and so you want to comfort her by touch. So Birthing Better Families looked at it a little bit differently. So if a woman's in distress, then she usually lacks skills, which means that when you're learning these skills, if you see and hear her begin to be in stress, then you use things like your breathing skills to help her cope and manage better, which means this leaves a huge open space because the woman isn't necessarily in distress, and so therefore touch would be used for different purposes. And for Birthing Better Families, the purpose of touch is to help a woman soften inside her body, inside her pelvis, because that's what she needs to open up in order to achieve a successful VBAC. So when you learn this touch is a way to cue her. And we found, as Birthing Better mothers and fathers, that it was less tiring to use touch as a cue than it was to constantly be saying to a woman, soften inside, or soften inside your right hip, or soften inside your left hip. It just became tiring to do that. And since we can't see internal tension, the best way was to be able to touch and have a passive touch where the woman then softens under that touch. Do we use this outside of birth? Yeah, sure, why not? Almost all Birthing Better skills for birth are adaptable for life because pregnancy and childbirth are part of life. So you want skills that cross over into life but can be used in the very intensity of this short period of time, which is the activity of birthing a baby.